Welcome to Gene and Mike do the New York Times crossword.
Hi, I'm Jean.
And I'm Mike. And today we are doing the crossword for Monday, June 9th, 2025. So, on this first day of Apple's Worldwide Developer Conference, did you do the crossword?
Yes.
And did you nerd out while you were doing the crossword?
No.
There were no references whatsoever to Apple products in today's crossword.
It does not surprise me.
I am disappointed. I was expecting at least a little bit of product placement.
Sorry.
Now, they did have product placement, but it was for 12 down, Canadian gasoline brand Esso, which is not the same.
Nope, that's true.
So they also had, you could argue this is product placement, 65 across, info gathered by spies was Intel, which is the same name as Intel.
I was looking at that when you were talking about Apple, and I thought, well, they got Intel.
They got Intel. They did not get Apple. Not
That's the thing with the New York Times crossword. There's always tomorrow.
There's always tomorrow. It's the first day of WWDC. They missed their moment here.
But there's tomorrow.
You know, I bet there's something in here that somehow ties to Apple. If we just looked hard enough, like lapse. Lapse almost sounds like Apple.
It does not.
Okay, no, I guess it doesn't. Okay. Well, if I find anything while we're doing this, I'll shout Eureka.
All right.
But otherwise, what do you think of the crossword?
It was pretty good. It was a good Monday, don't you think? It took me a little bit longer than it usually does for some reason.
Oh.
Well, I know what the reason is. I made a stupid mistake.
Really?
11 across was, I guess I get the joke. And I thought, maybe it's like a dumb joke. So I put meh, like meh.
Oh.
Like dumb joke. So anyway, so then I thought I had it all solved. And 11 down was stretches of baking days. And I'm a baker. I like to bake. And so I was trying to relate that to baking. And what I had was meat waves. And I'm like,
that's really disgusting.
Meat waves. How does that deal with baking? That'd be cooking, but not baking. You don't, typically bake meat.
Right.
Anyway, I finally figured out it was heat waves. That it was not talking about baking at all. It was talking about very hot days, heat waves, and I guess I get the joke was heh.
Yes.
Not meh.
Yeah.
So anyway, I had a little chuckle of that one, but it took me like 3 minutes to figure out what's going on with meat wave.
Meat wave. Yeah, we could use a few heat waves around here, actually.
We could. It is rather cold in northeast Wisconsin.
Yep.
So,
but the theme was hot.
The theme was pretty funny, yeah. It was pretty simple but it was Monday, so that was good. But yes, there were 3 themed clues and then 1 revealer clue. And the answers to the themed clues had a definite pattern to them. The first one was 17 across, which was a belly of the beast. And then we had 26 across, which was a movable feast. And then we had 46 across, which was brewer's yeast. And I bet you're getting the pattern. And then the revealer was 61 across, which was, and bringing up the rear, or an apt description of the ends of the themed clues. And that was last but not least.
Yes. Pretty amusing.
Yes, it was.
Or as I like to say, heh.
I didn't realize there were so many words that ended in east. That there's 4 of them right there.
Beast, ceased. Well, let's see. Ceased.
No.
Ceased and
Feast.
ceased. He ceased and desisted. No. Ceased and desist. That can't be right. Cease and desist.
No T.
I was trying to put that into the past tense.
No.
Ceased and desisted. No, never mind. Yes, that was quite clever and amusing.
Yes.
And this was the brainchild of M.A. Lucido. This is her 18th crossword. I noticed that one across was refill at a Shell station, say, and that took me a bit since I don't have a gas powered vehicle. It's like
You've totally forgotten what it was like.
Yes.
To fill up your tank.
Well, I wanted it to be top off, but it was gas up.
Gas up, yes.
And I found it interesting that we had the Shell station on the left-hand side of the grid, and meanwhile we had Esso lurking there on the right.
That's true.
We should have had Amico somewhere in the middle, but that would have been the amicable place to put it, but they didn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
One down, it's often packed during the final few weeks of pregnancy, was Go Bag.
Yes.
Did you get that right away?
No.
I've heard of that in reference to like NTSB investigators. They have to have their go bags ready
Right.
if there's an accident.
Yes.
I hadn't heard about it in terms of pregnancy, but I guess anytime you anticipate having to leave in a hurry, you need a go bag.
I guess, but when I was pregnant with our children, we just packed a bag. We didn't call it a go bag. It was just like we had a bag ready.
That was a go
was
bag.
just a bag.
You just didn't know what to call it.
I guess they dubbed it go bag after our children were grown. So
It sounds more action packed that way,
Go
more
bag,
energetic.
yes,
Get the go bag.
go get the go bag.
That's
yes.
right.
Mm-hmm.
5 down was interesting. Hitchcock film given an R rating 24 years after its release, Psycho,
Yes.
because
Because they didn't have ratings
they didn't
when
have
it came out.
they didn't have ratings exactly.
Wow.
So
And it was rated R. So that was pretty racy back in those days.
well, I mean, because of the violence, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. It was the violence.
Have you seen Psycho?
I think I started watching it, but it got too scary. So
Oh. I think I've just seen from various TikTok excerpts the shower scene.
Oh yeah,
that's the only one I've
the
seen.
Scary part. Yeah, I did watch that part, but I don't think I watched it to the end. I think after the shower scene, it was like, I don't need to see that.
Well, then they had the hot tub scene. We had 18 down. Any of several kings of Norway was Olav.
That's right.
I always wanted to be Olaf.
Well, sometimes it is, and sometimes it's Olaf.
Right. I think sometimes it's something out of Frozen.
No, that's Olaf.
That's Olaf?
Yes, with an F.
And with an O or with an A? Is it Olaf?
It was an
Olaf?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Another one that I guess I never had heard this term before, and I know a lot about statistics, and that's the report cross. Outliers in the data are called edge cases. I thought they were just called outliers, but edge cases. I just never heard that term before.
See, that's a phrase they use in programming a lot.
Really?
Yeah, to sort of say something that's like right at the edge of what's possible, and you have to sort of plan for that, not just sort of for what's in the middle of things. But I hadn't heard of that in statistics either. So, but I mean, the edge cases outliers by definition would be at the edge of things.
Yes.
I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true.
I think that was named by the same people who named Go Bag.
Perhaps.
It's like instead of calling them outliers, we need something fancier. How about edge cases?
Edge cases.
Let's call them Glamazon edge cases. That'll really rake in the research bucks.
Well, I bet, yes. Mm-hmm.
We had 28 down, colorful puppy of children's TV, Bluey.
Yes, that was another mistake I had that
Really?
took a lot of time to figure out. Yes, because 39 across was
The answer to that had to be yup.
Well, I had yep,
Yep?
yep, yep.
Ah. So your subconscious was thinking about meh, and it was trying to draw you back to the problem.
You notice the ones I have trouble with are not real words, but anyway. So I had Blee as the dog, and I think the dog came way after our children were watching public television or wherever that's on. But it was yup and Bluey.
Not yep
Bluey.
and blee. Well, that's interesting. You should mention that because Bleedy was in fact a movie that Hitchcock had made. It was also R-rated.
It was.
It was about a children's dog that gets its tail cut off. It's horrible.
I don't think so.
No, you're right. There's no such movie as Bleedy, as far as I know.
Right.
A little bit too much on the nose or on the tail, as the case may be. 57 down was a surprise to me. Bart Simpson's bus driver was Otto.
Yes. I didn't know that either.
Which is very funny because it's, The Simpsons, so you'd expect that. But
yes. Mm-hmm.
something I found interesting, 6 across, relative of a rapier was a saber.
Yes.
And then we had 19 down, sporting equipment that's French for sword, épée.
Épée, yes.
So, of course, I wanted to know the counts. And saber, as spelled, S-A-B-E-R, has appeared 150 times. I thought, oh, well, but what about if they spelled it the French way, S-A-B-R-E? And that showed up 103 times.
Wow.
And then I looked at épée, which has shown up 742 times, pretty much every week.
It is the fencing equipment of the New York Times
Yes.
crossword.
If Will's ever attacked by a burglar, he's going to whip out an épée.
I bet, yes.
But I was looking at the early definitions of épée. So it was first clued as fencing sword, and then as fencing sword, and then as dueling blade. This was in 1945.
Yes.
But in 1947, it was the arm suitable to Hope's Rupert of Hentzau. It's like, whoa, they really upped the difficulty there.
It was what?
The arm suitable to Hope's Rupert of Hentzau.
What does that even mean?
Okay, well, it's an arm, so it's a weapon. Suitable to Rupert of Hentzau. I presume this is some sort of a dueler or something like that.
Huh. Wow.
Also, the one next to it, or the following one, again, this is 1947 when clues were tough. French perfecter of deaf-mute alphabet.
Épée.
Apparently épée.
Somebody named Épée.
And then there was a big run of fencing sword, fencing sword, fencing sword, fencing sword before they started to sort of wander into others. But that reference to Rupert of Hentzau is just like, I don't think that has aged well at all. I bet even Wikipedia doesn't know. This is like Rupert. I bet if you asked ChatGPT, it would say, never heard of it. Actually, it's a sequel by Anthony Hope to The Prisoner of Zenda, written in 1895 but not published until 1898.
Wow. Rupert.
When it received an R rating for too much violence involving épées.
Okay, well, now we know.
We had 50 across, let's see. 50 across was sidestepper on a beach, and that was crab.
That's right.
And then we had 49 down, which was moves obliquely, which was sidles, which is what a crab does.
That is true. Yes.
So
I didn't even put those two together, but yes, definitely.
Amy Lucido thought it would be a good idea to include both in the puzzle, and she was right.
Yep. It was very good.
All right. A fine crossword again by Amy Lucido, her 18th. And well done, Amy.
Yes.
That is it for today then. So remember, you can always get a hold of us and leave feedback. You can click on the send fan mail link or send us email, crosswordpodcast@icloud.com. Tomorrow's Tuesday. That means we're going to be having Triplet Tuesday. So you'll want to gather all your friends and relations around for that. We'll be back again with that and our analysis of tomorrow's crossword tomorrow.
Bye-bye.